Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the Draconic Orchestra event that has come back once again to North America. So, the Draconic Orchestra is an event owned exclusively by Gung-Ho, which means it will return on a regular basis. We know for certain that it will come back, and as a result of that, the need for, or the concept of FOMO, or fear of missing out, will be lower just because, it's going to come back in the future, and at the same time, if you've rolled heavily in the past, it makes it definitely much less incentivized to roll again. For the most part, I'd say there are nice cards in this event, but nothing super game-changing or super you must-have sort of thing. With the exception of maybe Vione, if you're really into Royal Oak, I feel like they're going to be quite an important piece because of their 3-turn haste, but at the same time, they're an Orb Skin card, but again, they're new, and Gung-Ho tends to give the most love to Orb Skin cards, especially the newer ones. With that being said, I don't think any of the 7-stars are you need to have basis, because they are nice to have. They're definitely strong. I wouldn't be upset with them, but I feel like you don't need them if your monster box is super deep, and they may not necessarily eclipse or outpace other available options. Of course, certain ones may be more meaningful to yourself because you don't have everything available. So again, take a lot of what I say with a grain of salt, because sometimes if I have a card, I feel like alternatives, if the alternative is stronger, what's the point of using that card? That sort of idea. With that being said, let's take a look at each and every single one of the cards. I'm going to be doing it just purely reading off the information from Subaki Bot in Discord, because my wrists have been hurting. I've been resting them for several days actually now, and it's just problematic. But regardless of all that, I feel like I can hold information in my head pretty well. So let's start with Theor. So, Theor in his base form has 4 skill boosts. He has a 10 combo, lots of Dragon Killers, and can get another 10 combo through their Super Awakening. So, they can't have extremely high amounts of personal damage. 10 with a VDP, especially in Dragon Heavy spot dungeons, will do large damage. It's a big attack stat, so not a terrible damage stick in that sense. Their active skill gives you cuts your health by 50% for 1 turn, so that's not good unless you like being below half health. And it gives you 1 turn of Void Damage Void. So you don't need to make a VDP. So at the same time, you can just go double 10 combo and easily hit double cap with relatively minimal effort. And as long as you can one-shot those Void spawns and the rest of your team doesn't have many VDPs, you're okay. So Void Damage Void, I definitely find is more meaningful on Rosalind teams, because Rosalind teams have so many of the enhanced red combos, or the takoyakis as some people like to call them, the grape looking awakenings, that a lot of damage comes heavily from matching multiple red combos. So the VDP I've always found to be a little underwhelming on Rosalind teams. So Theor, I can foresee having possibly some usage there. Seawolf tends to do quite a bit of damage with VDP. I'm not sure why that's the case. Maybe it's just my sub-selection choices have differed over time. But either way, point of the matter is, I think it can be useful on Rosalind teams. The rest of the active skill gives you a full board unlock and changes all orbs to all attributes plus heals. So it's good if you combo it with something else. It wants to be used on rainbow-based teams, but maybe you could use them on rainbow-based teams for sure. Damage output is definitely higher there. It's just at the same time, rainbow is definitely at a weaker point compared to monocolor. So again, if you had one and you do have say Beach Mariel or Christmas Story Sakuya, you have ways to actually utilize them perhaps, but again, I wouldn't trade for them. For their evolved form, their awakenings want them to be below half health, so their active skill now has synergy there, and they got to match 4 attributes. So rainbow with 4 rainbow for 4 attributes and below half health. It's a lot of things. You have to thread this very fine needle. I don't think it's really worth the effort by comparison to the base form. The active skill is the exact same, so unless you're absolutely desperate for color coverage, I really wouldn't think they would function that well outside of rainbow-based teams. For their weapon assist, that same extremely low cooldown active skill, so if you don't have a Void Damage Void and you had this in your box, it definitely can be helpful. It also makes the owning card give 50% more attack, or 2 times attack, I should say, because they are going to be below half health with this active skill. It does give cloud resist and jammer resist, 60% jammer resist. So quite a few resists. Again, these are nice things to have. I don't think it's going to change your life, but they're nice cards to own, I feel. For Lutina in her base form, the value of Lutina, I definitely feel, hinges on how strong your water box is. Because at this point in time, Royal Oak is the dominant guy. And Royal Oak can pair of himself, or you can pair of Natsuru if you have 7x6 options. So either way, both teams want to match rows of water, which means you can use double 10 combo awakening cards with VDP ideally, and there's the perfect damage candidate. And Lutina is exactly that. You have double 10 combo VDP, and it's going to be a huge damage stick on your Royal Oak teams. Furthermore, they give 2 seconds of orb movement time, which definitely helps if it's Natsuro pairing, because 7x6 more time is always nice. It gives 2 skill bind resist in case you are short on them for whatever reason. You probably won't be, but just in case you were, it is not terrible. And then 2 skill boosts. The weak point is definitely the 2 skill boosts, and the active skill does give you 1 turn of water orbs appearing more likely for 10%, so it's a water skyfall buff. Okay, situationally helpful, maybe here and there, but it gives you unlock orbs. So the unlock orbs can definitely get you out of some sticky situations. At least when I was playing through MD2, I found locked orbs were definitely a problem for myself, and having Lutina would be a nice solution because with her 1 cooldown active skill, you can inherit something like Crusader's Shield over top, and Crusader Shield will let you actually have a permanent uptime on damage reduction, and you could use Lutina's active skill if you want to like just kind of reset this cooldown a little bit. But the point of the matter is 1 cooldown based active skills are amazingly strong for carrying valuable inherits that want to be used as often as possible. And again, unlocking the board can be amazing. Having Indra spawn or having Orochi spawn were just problematic potentials. Well, having Orochi spawn was definitely problematic because of the locked orbs. So point of the matter is, Lutina, I think, definitely can be valuable if you have a Royal Oak team and you don't have any truly great subs to populate. Like, you don't have, like, you can't get Blue Rex, you can't get Blue Valkyrie, you can't get Blue Albert. Basically, all the great Royal Oak subs want to be acquired through dungeon drops. Maybe if Amon and Mori and whatnot, you can make stuff out of it. The point of the matter is, if you're lacking a lot of strong water cards, Lutina may not be a terrible card to possibly acquire, but again, the value of subs can definitely drop off over time. And again, water is pretty stacked that if you have a deep enough box and have the way to get those evolution materials, you may not necessarily need her. For their evolved form, their awakenings are significantly worse. They're all over the place. I would not even look at it. I would only focus on the base form because the active skill is the exact same. And then for their weapon assist, they have 2 enhanced heart orbs. That's huge amount of damage or a huge amount of healing output increased for any given card as long as they have a high RCV stat. And that can make a big difference because now healing problems are no longer problems. You just heal with relative ease on a match 4. But the problem with this, and it's not because of the 60% poison resist, that is also helpful too. The problem is it's a 6-turn cooldown if unskilled. And that's quite short. So that means the owning card with the base active has to be used over and over again. Because if it overcharges into this, you're probably not going to be happy because it's nice on a 1-turn cooldown for the effect it gives, but it's not enough of an effect. So point is, I think it's cool, but at the same time, it may be difficult to put on a card that won't overcharge accidentally on a problematic regular basis. For Minaka, it's another strong water card, and I feel like her weapon assist will have value in the future moving forward, potentially. But as a sub, she definitely can function. Again, the value of her sub potential for Royal Oak Natsuro teams is dependent on what other strong water cards you have. Because in her base form, I'm not as big a fan of it, but it does give you a 10 combo, gives you an L, 4 skill boosts, and a huge attack stat, so she will hit hard. And again, all these 7-star cards do have 8 latent slots, which makes them great candidates for like double damage cap or taking Poison Surge, and then 2 SDRs if you're playing through Shura 3 or whatever you need to use. 8 is more than 6, more is more, I like that. And for Minaka herself, like, it's okay, like you get some movement time, you get the skill boost, you have enhanced healing, like it's doing a lot of things at the same time. And if you're double Royal Oaking, the 2 enhanced heart orbs and her large RCV stat can definitely make a difference in terms of healing output if you don't have Blue Valkyrie or any other healing solution present on your team. So I definitely can give her merits for that. She will have respectable personal damage with the 10 combo and her large attack stat and making rows, but a large part of her value is going to be found in this active skill. And her active skill unlocks the whole board, which is useful in quite a few different dungeons, and it changes wood to water orbs, which is different than Royal Oak. Royal Oak takes red to blue, so it doesn't overlap, which means you can get more water orbs in case you need to make a VDP and row, or just 2 rows. More is more. And then it changes light to heal. Again, helpful because you get more, you just have an easier time overall. So you have a nice favorable looking board for Royal Oak, and then for 2 turns, you reduce damage taken by 50%. For 2 turns, you need damage reduction in Shura 2, in Shura 3. You definitely want to have it in Valkyrie Seal's dungeon. It doesn't hurt to have it in Athena's dungeon. Point is, hard content wants a shield. So having the shield on a 9-turn cooldown with a respectable body with awakenings, not a bad thing overall. It can be your healing solution. But it takes it a step further with this rerun, because now it gives you 2 turns of damage absorption cancellation on a 9-turn cooldown with no actual negative penalty. If I'm not mistaken, this is the fastest 2-turn Fujin we have, and there's no downside to it whatsoever. It's actually overwhelmingly stacked. It's doing a lot of helpful things. You need shields in dungeons. You like orb generation for your Royal Oak teams. You also can utilize the damage absorption because you almost always need that in virtually every dungeon. So she's doing a bit of everything, and that's actually quite helpful overall. And again, this active skill carries over to her other forms, so her weapon assist by that definition has an incredibly low cooldown, which makes inheriting for damage absorption and shielding so much easier. Again, team building can definitely open up. I could use Minaka on, say, like an Ashura 3 run or like MD1 run, and I inherit a delay or something along those lines on top of her. On floor 1, I instantly enter the dungeon. Her 9-turn cooldown is low enough. I delay. And then I let it charge up, and now I have damage absorption cancellation for the whatever absorption floor is, because there's one in MD2 and there's MD1, and there's also one in World of Carnage 3, Shura 3. Like, it's gonna happen, so it charges back up by then. And then you'll want damage reduction for the final boss floor potentially, or at least in Shura 3 you'll need damage reduction for Hexazeon. She brings it again, so like it's a lot of value in a given card, I feel. So like I think it's definitely quite nice to have. And again, obviously the value of the card hinges on what other water subs you do have at your disposal. For her evolved form, she gives you 4 rows, so that's a huge amount of damage output for Royal Oak teams. She has a VDP and a 10 combo. She has a terribly low attack stat, so she's probably not going to be dealing significant amounts of damage, which is okay. With 8 latent slots, you'll take a Poison Surge and then 2 SDRs, and you'll be happy overall. A valuable active skill overall, so she's kind of utility, kind of supportive. But another thing not to overlook is the large RCV stat, which can be helpful because it does help with healing output, especially if you inherit something that gives, say, an enhanced heart combo, or just have high amounts of team RCV. It adds up. It's a good thing. It's well optimized stats if you're not double capping with her, which you're not. Because if we look at the health stat, whoa, that's over 10,000. That's a huge amount of health. Like, that's significantly higher than most other cards. Let's take a look at Lutina. Lutina is actually pretty high at 7k. This is 3,000 more health. So on a double Royal Oak team, 3,000 times 4 is 12,000. 12,000 times another 4, because of the damage reduction aspect, is 48,000. So basically you have 48,000 more health by having Minaka compared to Lutina, and obviously other health multipliers will make that even greater. Point of the matter is, it's actually a huge amount of health, and it can be helpful for hitting those big health thresholds that you may or may not be necessarily hitting in dungeons, and again, more is more. Again, same valuable active skill, helps the team out with damage output. Pretty strong card to have overall. And then her weapon assist gives you 2 Ls. And again, if you ever have a team of no L awakenings, having 1 L is a big deal, because now you can unlock the board. We've seen with Royal Oak technically scaling off of Ls that having lots of Ls on a given card is not that great. So it doesn't, like, on Royal Oak teams, sure, as an inherit, it definitely can be nice. It's like you need the damage absorption, cancellation, and shield, and you get some more L's, so their active skill actually does a little bit more. Cool. But either way, I like to see it as you get your first L. That's a big difference. It gives you then 20% jammer, poison, and blind resist. Not bad at all, but again, the active skill is quite powerful. It gives you solutions to multiple different problems. And whenever you are able to solve multiple floors with a single weapon assist, it is a big deal, because you free up other slots, which in turn lets you bring other solutions to other problems. You can build in more redundancies, have safer clears. And then for Eva, in her base form, she has a 7, a 10, and a 10 combo. Outrageously high, easy damage output with her huge attack stat. So double damage cap, no problem. But where can we definitely utilize her? She has a guard break, so that means it's rainbow oriented. So we gotta hope this is good for rainbow based teams. So her active skill gives you a full rainbow board with an unlock, changes the column to heart orbs, which is great for regular follow-up attacks back in the day. Everything has auto follow-up attack nowadays. Even her as a leader has auto follow-up attack. This column of hearts doesn't do that much overall. In that sense, like it used to be cooler back then. It's still like a rainbow board changer with hearts, but the problem is you could possibly overwrite the other existing orbs, because it makes the full 5 colors first, then a column. It might overwrite, it might break activation. That could be very sad. And then it also removes all awoken skill binds. So an extra backup cleric, not a bad thing. Doesn't clear unmatchable. TPAs are not that common on rainbow teams, so the TPA latent unmatch may not necessarily be present. You'll definitely need another cleric. So she's kind of like a big damage stick with a backup cleric effect. It's okay. I don't think it's super amazing and super needed. For her evolved form, she has double 10 combo and lots of killers, so less color focus, but again, it's that same active skill that you may or may not necessarily need. On 6x5 board, like I said, it could break activation, be a little awkward. So I feel like their weapon assist is possibly their most valuable form because it gives you a skill boost, gives you enhanced heart combo, which makes the owning card heal significantly more, and then blind resist, 40% blind and 20% jam or poison. That's actually a pretty nice spectrum of resist if you're finding resist not through super resist, like through various other options. Say you have Green Odin's weapon, you have 100% blind resist with Eva's loot. But where you would inherit this card is on cards who have a high RCV stat that you want to make them do more for your team. And basically the idea is like, say, Alina. I've seen this utilized on Alina quite a bit because Alina has a strong RCV stat for your Nautilus teams. She also has she has enhanced heart orbs, so more is going to increase her healing more and just helps you regenerate your health back much more easily. It's a good alternative to the Nay necklace. It doesn't give unmatchable clear, so be mindful of that, but it's still an awoken bind clear. And it's the same cooldown when unskilled as Green Nay, so you can definitely use it just as easily. So in dungeons where you need more healing than damage output, this is definitely going to be a strong option for your Alina. And in theory, it's also a strong weapon assist on other extremely RCV high cards, especially if they're a cleric role for your team and you don't mind unmatchable being possibly unavailable, you can utilize this weapon assist. For Mariel in her base form, she has a 10 combo and a bunch of TPAs, and she can gain another 7 combo or 2 more skill boosts through her Super Awakenings. So before Daytona, TPAs had no use. Now with Daytona, they have meaning and value. And for Mariel herself, I think she's not a bad Daytona sub, except for the fact she has no sub attributes, so for sure a 3, it doesn't help there. And the reason why I say she's not a bad choice is because she has a large health stat. She gives you large amounts of team HP, and the biggest weakness of Daytona teams is not having enough health. And this will help you correct that problem while also giving you a card with respectable amount of damage output, which is never a bad thing to have. She won't double cap that easily or at all, I think, possibly, but not a bad damage output potential there, which means she could use, like, say, the unmatchable clear latent instead, or just use other utility. Like, it'll still damage cap, I feel, most of the time, but I wouldn't bank on it unless you take the 7 combo, but I probably would want to pursue the extra 4 skill boost just to help you transform more easily. And then for the active skill, it does give you 4 turns of 30% healing, and on an 8-turn cooldown, in theory, you have 2 Mariels, you can loop this so you can do some shenanigans with her leader's skill, but it also gives you 4 turns of 35% damage reduction. You need some damage reduction in any dungeon you play, and having this will definitely let you survive dangerous aspects. And Daytona, with his huge shield already, can definitely benefit from this extra 35% damage reduction. It may let you tank all the Hexazion's big hits, and depending on your health stat, which Mariel will definitely help because of this Team HP Awakening. So I definitely feel like it's strong in that sense. Again, the value of the card, I feel like, just generally speaking, the value of any card for Daytona teams comes down to how many Halloween cottons do you own. If you own 2 or more, many subs do lose value because running a second Halloween cotton over the sub is going to just be the better choice overall. So Mariel, I definitely feel like can be meaningful, but again, Marthis, which will come to soon, is also valuable for Daytona teams, again, depending on what else you own available. But he's a cleric, so he does get a bit of bonus points there. And then it unlocks the board, changes all orbs to fire, water, wood, and light. You can change the fire into light orbs, and you can change the water orbs into hearts. You get a nice looking board for damage output. You don't make dark, so Halloween Cotton sub attribute is less happy, but still, it's a usable board while also unlocking to get you out of problems, guaranteed to keep you alive with that extra shield. I just think it's a nice card overall. For their evolved form, it's just kind of a generic light damage stick, so not as interesting, I feel, in that sense. I'd be more intrigued by their base form. And then for their leader skill, like, they do have the ability to make this looping shield, but without, like, bonus combos, it's hard to tap into that 10 combo awakening for her, so then she won't do much damage. And for their evolved form, you do get bonus combos, but, like, it's not that great in the sense because you have to dedicate both your leader skill active skills to this looping shield if you want to have enough effective health to tank stuff. And then that's the equivalent of using, like, say, 2 Nautiluses over and over again, or Nautilus, Christmas, Manoa. Like, Orb Generation to trigger your full 16 times effective health is just going to be a better choice. So, like, as a leader, it's cool, but I don't think it's that meaningful. As a weapon, it does a bit of helpful things. It gives you full bind immunity, it gives you a skill boost, and then it gives you 40% jammer, 20% blind resist. Not a bad array of awakenings. Again, skill boost with full bind immunity is always helpful. Resist can help you protect yourself against problems. Not bad to have overall, but it's okay. The active skill on the card itself, again, if the shield is useful or strong enough, it can be helpful, but if the shield is not big enough for whatever team you're running, I feel like this active skill kind of falls a little flat. So again, I feel like for their base form, strongest for Daytona teams, especially if you don't have lots of Halloween Cottons, and that's kind of the idea of how Daytona builds. Speaking of other Daytona possible subs is Marthis. And Marthis in their base form is, like, they have huge damage output. Like, they have a 10 combo, they have 5 TPAs, they have a huge attack stat. So again, maybe in their base form, you can definitely utilize them if you don't have Halloween Cottons for, like, huge double damage capping cards. Marthis can definitely function, but what I want to draw attention to is their active skill, because their active skill is recover your whole health, which is cool, and then it gives you, removes all awoken skill binds, and then 3 turns of an attack and RCV buff. The attack buff will be overwritten by Daytona constantly, which is fine, but the RCV buff is never a bad thing to have. Sometimes getting hit by a big RCV debuff is problematic, especially if it's like someone that reduces to 0%. Daytona teams usually don't care about RCV debuffs as much because their health stat's small, their shield is big, but it's nice to be able to get rid of them. It also gets rid of awoken binds. The drawback is you only get 2 skill boosts in this form, so again, it's a big damage stick, but the Revolve form is going to be more meaningful because you get 4 skill boosts, you have less TPAs, and a lower attack set, so his damage output won't be as high, but again, pretty good candidate for, like, unmatchable clear, potentially, or just let him just do a single damage cap if you don't want to dump extra resources into him, potentially. Or you can do Color Absorb, because that, amusingly enough, gives him the 1.5 damage caps, and you probably have too many Color Absorbs floating around. But going back to this active skill, it is helpful. Like, it's a cleric active skill because Daytona teams usually don't care about unmatchable most of the time because all you do is match a TPA and the unmatchable card that's carrying that awakening clears many turns away. So usually it's not an issue, but sometimes it might be an issue. And Marthis himself, like, if light is unmatchable, his red sub-attribute won't be available necessarily because if you need light orbs, you use Daytona's active, and Daytona's active takes red away. So it makes it a little harder to trigger, like, say, unmatchable clear on Marthis. Definitely still has strong damage output and still has a strong cleric output, but the thing is, like, Daytona teams may or may not need that much damage output, so I feel like I said, the value comes down to how many Halloween Cottons do you have. If you have 2 already, you may not need Marthis as badly. You may want to have a full dedicated cleric that brings more, because 4 skill boost is nice, but like Leona does give you more skill boost potentially. She gives super resist, she could give cloud resist, she does give you a full cleric style active skill as well, so those unmatchable problems just go away. So, like, Marthis is definitely valuable for sure, and the value will definitely come down to what else do you have currently available. And then the last thing I want to draw attention to is actually his health stat. Like I said before, Daytona teams want lots of health. Marthis can help bring that health. So again, Halloween Cottons also have a big health stat. So again, the less Halloween Cottons you have, the better Marthis does become. But now let's say you have enough Halloween Cottons and you don't care for Marthis. Well, Marthis's weapon assist might actually be quite meaningful. It gives you that cleric style active skill. It doesn't clear unmatchable, but again, if you have a team set up and you know light will never be unmatchable, you're perfectly safe to utilize this style of active skill because again, it's a full cleric style active skill, and it gives you a TPA, which is always nice. It gives you a skill boost, which you do want. It gives you team HP, which you always want to have more of, and 40% poison resist. So helpful and meaningful weapon assist potentially for your Daytona teams overall. But again, if you don't have a great team to begin with and you have Daytona, Marthis, especially in the Revolve form, I think is a truly meaningful card. Just be mindful of the fact that the VDP is completely wasted. And now we come to Phenom. So, Phenom in her base form is a phenomenal damage dealer because she has double 10 combo and 7 combo. So for the new Blackbird evolution for the 7-star JP Godfest exclusive that will come eventually, huge amount of damage output there, but the rows are kind of questionable. But huge amount of damage output if you're looking for another double 10 card, which I guess is definitely kind of cool. But again, it can double damage cap with ease with this monstrous attack set. Even with a 10-7 and that huge attack set, you might be high enough anyways that you could take VDP, so she at least does meaningful damage. She works best on blob, dark row-oriented teams. And then you think, Yuji Mahito, amazing dark team. But the problem is, Phenom is not a devil. Can't use her. It would have worked so well, but you just can't, and that's truly a sad thing overall. It is truly sad, because the Awakenings are great, and if you're playing through MD2, her active skill is helpful, because in MD2, you need to have Unmatchable clear. Not Awoken Bind, not even regular Bind, just Unmatchable. So this is helpful. It unlocks the board as well, and changes the bottom row to Dark Orbs. So, a valuable active skill for MD2, or as a backup cleric if you have like only one cleric that is not that great. They have like, say, a longer base cooldown. You need a backup unmatchable clear, help you out. Phenom can definitely be great, but it doesn't work on Yuji Mahito teams. Truly unfortunate. For their leader skill, they look strong from numbers point of view. 10.24 times effective health is quite high. They have a very high attack set. You need to just be a dark card, you get bonus movement time, and all you have to do is match 6 or more connected dark orbs. Looks great, but you don't get auto follow-up attack. You don't get bonus combos, so it's just going to be harder to truly leverage their value, because hitting those 10 combos now becomes so much harder. Dealing with resolve spawns is absolutely barbaric in this day and age. So I think it's strong, but it's just nowhere great to use unless you're really desperate for a double 10 combo card for the new Blackbird, but I don't think it's even needed. For their evolved form, they're a huge resist stick. They have 100% jammer, 100% poison resist. Wow. And that same helpful active skill, but again, they're not a devil, so you can't use them on Yuji Mahito teams. And even though their active skill is, or leader skill is all right, it's just bonus combos, no auto follow-up attack. It's just like damage output's going to be quite strained with Phenoms as leaders because they have low damage output. Like the 110 combo may not do that much overall, and you don't want double anyways because the resists become wasteful. So like, they are strong, but like I feel like we don't have a truly great place to truly utilize them. But again, maybe the Blackbird new evolution, like new JP exclusive card, maybe Phenom will be great for MD2 because at least it has 110 combo, has VDP, huge resist stick, only 2 skill boosts, but I feel like this definitely could be a good solution for possible future Blackbird teams. And then for the Phenom's weapon assist, you get an L, so the first L, always helpful, combo orb, which might be useful maybe sometimes, and then 40 poison, 40 blind, and then the same active skill. So it's an okay active skill, okay weapon. I feel like this resist heavy form is meaningful because you're squeezing in so much value on a single card. It's gonna be useful, I feel, overall, especially for dark teams if she can be utilized as a sub. And now we finish the 7 stars and come to the 6 stars, but I want to look at the orb skins first because the orb skins are just the best. And yes, the 7 stars took a long time to talk about because I want to at least give you an idea of, like, they're strong but not necessarily the best. But the 6 stars definitely fall off, and the 5 stars, there's so much questionable value. And because of that, I'm much less motivated to roll because this is going to come back. We know Player's Choice Godfist is coming up on the 30th, which is going to be most likely an amazing event to roll in by comparison. So that's why I'm not super inclined to roll in this event. So like the 7 stars you can monster exchange for. The orb skins, if you have the funds to do so, you can purchase them directly. And Vione, I definitely feel is a card that you should consider purchasing. I feel like that's going to be the thing I say most of the time for most orb skin cards, but it's just the way it is. Gung Ho loves orb skins because it does make revenue for them because they're usually so strong. So let's look at Vione and why she's so great. In her base form, she has 3 skill boosts, and then she has 22 turn cooldown to transform. That gives you 3 turns of haste. So you're a 6 effective skill boost with haste. And the haste is important because in the new MD3 dungeon, 3 turns of haste is valuable because on floor 1, it cannot be delayed. It also has super resolve, so you have to spend minimum 2 turns on it. So in order to transform your multi-step transforming cards, like say Royal Oak, you're gonna need to have haste. And it's just going to make a big difference overall. So 6 effective skill boosts with the haste. It makes a big difference. And then when you do transform, they're actually an incredibly strong card as well because they have super blind resist, I love super resists. They have 2 enhanced hard orbs, so with a relatively large RCV stat, it does help out because you can provide a healing solution, especially for double Royal Oak. You have a VDP and double 10 combo. I've said it many times already in possibly other videos. No, not possibly, definitely in other videos. Double 10 combo with a VDP is the most efficient offensive awakening setup you can have. You're going to damage cap for sure. You're probably going to double damage cap if the card is allowing you to do so. And then you have VDP to guarantee you can actually kill void spawns. The most efficient. So they have those. And then they have 2 Ls, which makes Royal Oak's active skill do even more damage. So right away, all these awakenings are meaningful. Just be mindful of the fact that they are not bind immune, but that's okay. It's easy enough to correct. And then the active skill is actually quite overtuned. You get a full unmatchable clear. And like I said, MD2, the current hardest dungeon in the game, has only unmatchable, no awoken or no regular binds. So automatically, it's a great solution for those unmatchable problems. They unlock the board. My biggest problem with my Royal Oak team for that dungeon was not being able to unlock the board. So she solves that as well. And then she changes all orbs to water, dark, and hearts. A perfect board generator to a certain extent. As long as you have at least 5 or more water orbs, you don't die. And statistically speaking, from a 30 board change, or 42 if you're using Natsuro, you are going to have minimum 10 water orbs for 6x5 on average. That's what it's an expected amount. So you can go down to 5 and still not die. Of course, there will come a time when you get orb trolled on the boss and you die because Royal Oak can't convert dark into water, so that's going to be absolutely enraging, but I'm a man of odds. It unlocks the board, so it's not going to have any awkward locked orbs preventing orb generation, so I feel like it's going to pay off most of the time anyway. So, incredibly valuable active skill. It does help out, especially if you don't have a great other cleric, because this is a backup unmatchable that's obviously a full unmatchable clear. So let's say you don't have Blue Albert, or you're not playing MD2, you have another cleric that just gives Awoken Bind clear, but it's kind of a long cooldown. This is a great way to have that backup aspect. And again, the 3 turns haste helps you transform. Such a valuable water sub. I would love to own one for myself, but I don't recommend rolling in this, so you have to buy them. And then for their weapon assist, they give enhanced water combo, skill bind resist, 2 team RCVs, and the active skill is completely different than anything you would expect. If it was haste, it would have been infinitely better. But it's okay. For 10 turns, you get water orbs being locked. And then 2 turns, you reduce damage taken by 75%, and then 2 turns of attribute absorption cancellation. So I think it's nice, but I don't feel like it's going to outpace their base form at this point in time, because the base form's transforming aspect to get your Royal Oak teams going is almost too good to pass up on. Like, it's 6 effective skill boosts and great awakenings post-transform with a valuable active skill. I like this card overall. And then for Derod, they are... Why is this Tsubaki thing still here? Ah, I got rid of it. Okay, so for Derod, they're the next Orb Skin card, and they are also quite valuable. They have 2 skill boosts in their base form, and then their transforming is 18 turns, and it just changes the board to Fire and Dark. So right away, a much weaker transformation process. 6 effective skill boosts, 2 effective skill boosts. Much worse by comparison, just from that output. Now let's see if they have value in their awakenings. They have an L. 1 L in the team, great value. 10 combos, 7, big damage output, VDP, great, you can hurt void spawns. And then a bunch of killers. Oh, the killers hurt me inside because with 10 combo and double 7 and a large attack stat, you're pretty much damage capping all the time anyways. And you can't double damage cap a transforming card. So all these 3 offensive killers just go completely to waste. That's definitely a bit of a drawback. For the active skill itself, it reduces all unmatchable orb effects and creates 3 dark orbs. So, again, if you don't have a great cleric, a backup cleric, this definitely can be meaningful. MD2, you only need unmatchable clear. So if you don't have Phenom, and well, you can't use Phenom on Yuji Mojito teams. This guy's a devil, so you can. So you don't have, like, say, the vampire guy from the Monogatari collab. Is it from that? I can't remember, but you don't have him. You don't have... I can't remember. Like, off the top of my head, I can't remember anything at the moment. But point is, like, I feel like it's kind of situational, a bit specific in what they actually do accomplish. with their transformed state, because a lot of wasted awakenings, the active skill is, again, quite situational, but again, you may not necessarily need it. I feel like their weapon assist has more value at this point in time because it's a spine immunity with a skill boost, which is always helpful. 2 poison resist, cool stuff. And then the active skill is 1 turn, no Skyfalls. It overrides no Skyfall debuffs. It creates a single spinner, which overrides all other problematic spinners. Reduces unmatchable and removes all bind on Awoken Bind. So a full cleric active skill with a spinner generator and a no Skyfall overrider. On an 8-turn cooldown, that's actually quite a powerful active skill effect, and I would definitely like to inherit this on teams where I have, like, say, like possibly like a weaker cleric, or like I want to transform a card into a cleric because they have a low base cooldown, and then like it's a 1 turn plus 8, 9. Not the worst thing, definitely workable, but again, it gets rid of spinners, it gets rid of no Skyfalls, it gives you nice awakenings. I think this weapon assist is definitely where the most value for their card can possibly be found overall, because their transforming form is just weak with only 2 skill boosts and a lot of wasted awakenings when they transform. So Derod, I feel like, has most value in their weapon assist, but I don't think it's a weapon assist that's like super needed to pursue and like IAP for. Like, there are a lot of other things that could possibly, like, nothing that can perfectly replicate this, but I just feel like it's not as meaningful. If you had limited funds, buy Vione. She does more overall. And then we come to every other card now, which is much sadder. So I talk a lot about the good cards. I'm going to just have not much to say about the sad cards, unfortunately, because there's not too much. I'm going to just talk about their most useful form to save time. So for Aren's Horn, I feel like the weapon is pretty good, especially if you want to have Rose on your team, because you get Team HP, Team RCV, Cloud Resist. And then the active skill gives you 3 turns of 35% damage reduction, and then attack buff, unlock the board, and give you changing hearts to fire. It's okay. I feel like it's more of a weapon assist you would use on top of a card who never wants to overcharge, but it's kind of situational, kind of niche. I don't think it's that great overall. Tilly still has value in their base form because it's a great ranking dungeon damage stick because of all these attack above 50% makes a big difference, but outside of that, I think it's quite situational. Or for killers, similar idea for ranking dungeons. For their weapon assist, I think it's actually quite interesting because it has a skill boost, 2 team HPs, so those are good awakenings. We need more health. So right away, just from the awakenings, not a bad option. Again, I wouldn't chase her, but if you got her and don't care for the ranking dungeon stuff, this can be meaningful. And then the active skill gives you 99 turns of Hard Orb Skyfall by 7%. It's a slight buff. Kind of weird, kind of niche. It's not necessarily that harmful for most teams, I would say, especially teams like, say, Seawolf, who don't get as many hard orbs. Maybe you can make that argument. Maybe. And then for 2 turns, you also bypass damage absorption and 2 turns of RCV buff on an 11-turn cooldown. So, Minaka was 9, so definitely faster, but this is pretty fast with a skill boost too. So, you need damage absorption in dungeons. It's like almost a Boar's Helmet if you really think about it. And Boar's Helmet was heralded as one of the better options because it gave 2 team HPs, skill boost, and 1 regular HP. This is 2 instead of 1. So a little bit more from Boar, but pretty cool overall, I think. So interesting solution for your damage absorption needs potentially. And overriding RCV buffs is never terrible, just in case it might be helpful. Pretty cool stuff overall. For Enola, I feel like her most value comes in her base or evolve form because in her evolved form, she has 4 skill boosts. She has 3 attack while above 50%, or an extra 2 skill boosts if you choose. A lot of VDP damage, big attack stat. She's great for swipe farming or ranking dungeons because her active skill generates an instantaneous VDP. That is definitely helpful and meaningful. It will charge up for sure through whatever dungeon you're playing. It can even charge up multiple times if the dungeon is long enough. Pretty cool stuff overall. The weapon assist is also incredibly unique. It gives you 2 killers and a box maker. So, it's only a box of wood, so you need to make sure it's put on a wood-based card, and Enola kind of does that anyways, but maybe for certain farming content, you need to have a dragon and physical killer. Pretty cool. The VDP could possibly be manipulated or abused for whatever purposes. Point of the matter is, it's actually quite a strong weapon assist in terms of how unique it is, and again, instantaneous 3x3 box is definitely going to be helpful. For Azuha, they are transforming, and it's only 2 effective skill boosts, so kind of weak there. And then when they do transform, they have double 7, double VDP, lots of movement time, a wasted follow-up attack. The active skill gives you an attack and RCV buff and unlocks the board. I feel like if you're desperate for your wood teams and you don't have an RCV buffer, this could be a possible solution. It's a low base cooldown once transformed, so you can inherit something over top of it maybe, but I feel like it's pretty awkward, like pretty situational overall. Their weapon assist gives you double team HP with a full bind immunity, so that's actually not bad at all. A bit of blinders, a bit of enhanced wood orb, and then for one turn you get 75% shield and then give you the attack and RCV buff. Again, not a terrible thing. The big shield is definitely helpful because, like I said, big shields are meaningful in dungeons, but it's still kind of situational. But I feel like it's just possibly a bit more value compared to her transforming form that only has 2 effective skill boosts. For Rone, they still have the attacker killer prowess, which if you need an attacker killer, go nuts. Their other form is just a very generic, very plain, nothing great card. And then their weapon is double skill bind resist with a team HP and team RCV. So many transforming teams suffer from a lack of skill bind resist. And with this weapon assist, you can overcome that skill bind resist problem because it gives you 2 of them. So you're solved there, and it gives you more bulk and more healing and 20% blind resist. So there are no faults from the Awakenings at all. The active skill, I think, is actually quite awkward. It's 10 turns of no Skyfalls, which is usually a bad thing. But then it gives you 10 turns of +2 combos, and then it's a 3-turn delay. So you can make arguments that if you need a delay at the beginning of the dungeon, use this active skill. It will make it so whenever you stall, you never Skyfall accidentally into activation. So maybe that's nice. It also could be used in maybe farming builds where you need to have no Skyfalls just to make things go faster. So again, situational. I think it's not a bad option at all on this weapon. I would be most inclined to pursue the weapon form just because what it brings to the table overall. For Ruddy, I think they're just a little awkward. Like, they have skill boosts, they have 7 combos, they have attack 4 attribute. They can get another attack 4 attribute. So rainbow-based team, but the active skill just changes heal to dark, then 3 turns of healing and delaying the enemy by 1 turn. This is not what we want on a team. We already have things that can hit hard. Beach Mariel and Sakuya already hit so hard. Like, do we need more hard-hitting cards that don't bring anything else to the table? Not really. Their weapon assist, which will eventually show up, is a skill boost, an L, and a poison. Like, not a bad set of Awakenings, but nothing special or game-breaking in this day and age. For Ruo, I think their Evolve form is the most interesting because it doesn't mix rows, because mixing rows is bad, because no one uses Dark and Fire at the same time like that. And their active skill is a 6-turn cooldown, and it gives you 6 turns of 30% damage reduction shield. So this is like a budget Halloween Chakul if you really want to look at it that way. Gives you a super resist, gives you some damage, more damage with the 10 combo super waking and the VDPs. Like, it's a budget Halloween Chakul, but hey, it's a devil at least. You could use them, so not a bad thing to have. 8 latent slots again, lets you surge plus something else. Again, not terrible, but again, Halloween Chakul is obviously the superior option. Their double row form, no good. Their weapon assist 2 rows, no good. Budget Halloween Chakul, better. And now we come to the 5-star cards. And these comprise the vast majority of the rolling pool. So it's definitely much more unfortunate. So Cruz gives you double skill bind resist and enhanced hard orb. The value of this comes down to, do you need double skill bind resist and what else do you have available? I think it's not that great, the awakenings they provide necessarily, but maybe that enhanced hard orb might be meaningful. The active skill doesn't do much aside from 50% damage reduction shield for 1 turn. Like, unlock, maybe you could argue you need a shield, sure. Situational. Dolq's weapon, I actually think Dolq is not bad, because Dolq's weapon gives you 2 seconds of movement time to help fix your PSI, gives you 40 blind and 20 jammer, but the active skill gives you 2-turn delay and then 1 turn of RCV and movement time buff. So, RCV and movement time buff in conjunction is great for MD1 and Shura 3, especially if you don't have Misty Rain weapon assist. Dolq's weapon is definitely inferior to Misty Rain, but Dolq's weapon still lets you delay the 2nd floor on those respective dungeons and also overwrite the movement time and RCV debuffs they give. It's a multi-solution active skill. It's not the best one out there, but it's worth attention if you don't have anything else. And again, if you don't have many delay options and you have issues matching lots of combos, more movement time is not a bad thing to have overall. For Laude's weapon, it's a Skillbind enhanced wood combo. I don't think wood teams have any problems with Skillbind resist, mostly because if you have Alina, you have 2 Skillbind resists just from her, so you're probably quite safe in that aspect there. So a little awkward in that sense from Awakenings. For the active skill, it gives you 2 turns of bonus combo of 4. So for certain situations we need lots of bonus combos, I can see this being useful. Say Raziel Descended. Pretty annoying hitting those 19 combos with no Skyfalls sometimes. Give yourself +4. It becomes a little walk in the park by comparison. And then also gives you 2 turns of Attribute Absorption shield effects as well, and 1 turn of haste. So I feel like the weapon is really just mostly for the situational active skill itself. If you do end up rolling, which I do advise against, and you get one, never bad to have in a weapon, but you're going to get so many copies because there's only 4 bottom rarity cards, and you're going to just get them popping out over and over again. For Lotta Lotta, she was unique long time ago for the 100% counterattack, and it's still unique, but there's nowhere to utilize it truly well, I feel. But their weapon assist is actually kind of interesting. Don't care about the active. Look at the weapon. The weapon gives you a TPA, a Team HP, Team RCVs. Daytona teams definitely can utilize it if you don't have many options and you don't need extra skill boost. Not a bad thing to have overall. And then, it's just okay Awakenings. Like I said, if you do roll, which I do advise against it, you might actually get you're probably get most of the bottom rarity cards. It's not bad to have, but I wouldn't like to have multiple copies. And that's kind of like the end of the Draconic Orchestra. Like, the bottom rarity is just middling at best. You don't really want to get them. It's okay to have one, but you're going to get lots rolling. That's why I don't encourage rolling. And all the 6 stars are just kind of situational, reasonably nice, possibly nice to have. The weapon is, the Orb Skin cards are definitely the big chase, especially Vione. I think she's definitely stronger than Derod by comparison. And then all the 7 stars, I think, are definitely strong cards. Minaka is still quite unique with how valuable her active skill is, I feel, on such a short cooldown. But again, I don't think anything is like on a truly you must have basis. And because Player's Choice Godfest is coming up so soon, do you really need to have your stones being spent in a machine that's okay? That's going to also come back in several months anyways. I feel like the answer should hopefully be no. But with that being said, let me know what you think about this event in the comments down below. Do you actually think it's worth rolling in? And if you did end up rolling, did you get what you were hunting for? Regardless of all that, hopefully you'll have a truly fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.